right now. Okay. I'm reading this one. Okay. So I have the opportunity to introduce our last reader. Hopefully this bio does not confuse you at all. I am Joshua Graber from Canton, Ohio. I love reading and spend most of my time reading, thinking, or you could call it daydreaming and writing. Ladies and gentlemen, John Kennedy.
Who's in cahoots with him and told him how to dress today?
Okay. Alright, so I wrote a short story for today's reading, and I wrote that yesterday, so bear with me. Alright, so it's titled simply A New Year. So, it was as though the past held the key to their present intimacy. It seemed to exist in their hands waving down a boat, in the sentiments they carried to the town. And it existed in the possibilities of that place, amidst its familiar turbulence, keen to impart to her past on the island to her. They played dominoes at a picnic table in an open-air restaurant, and she watched as she wandered down a lit dock, peering over the edges of the strange fish in the shallow light. She watched them, and then they were in a cab home. The town swept behind, and the sound of the news dwindled as the open windows let in the sibilant hiss of the jungle and the wind. She listened to her conversation with the taxi driver. She listened to it as though it signaled the intermissions of her life now. Nights without electricity, candles placed throughout the house, the Monopoly set in Spanish, boardwalk at Sao Paulo, baleadas in West End, people carrying the expectation of better weather in their faces, boatsmen and tourists, the varied conditions she would come to know. She listened for the inflections in its rise and fall, watching moths and animals intersect the car's path along the bumpy road. She looked forward to the morning, her own faith in the New Year's, its intangible promises with her, something of sunshine and of walking along the shore, watching her chase lagartijas and the needlefish in the shallows. This life for them, much less hollow and bitter than that before. The conversation drifted to potholes, the corrupt mayor, cars rolling off the mountain, the beachfront development, changing the island again, and Foster buying property. She broke their conversation to tell her that she needed to go to the bathroom. Do you think you can hold it? I don't think so. We'll be home in a few minutes. But I think I wet myself, she said. She turned around to look at her in the back seat. I thought you used the bathroom at the pizza place. I did. Is there a lot? The seat's really wet, and I think I got my feet wet too. ¿Puedes parar, por favor?, she said to the driver. Que tuve un accidente, mi hija. Bueno, voy a parar y luego seguimos, he said. She wondered if she was wrong, wondered if her dispositions were something she had let go off or had taken too far, and she felt that her desire for this excitement was somehow to blame, a pattern thing. That was not, but was a part of her sense of the fallow devices of her previous life. The driver turned on the lights at the midsection of the car, illuminating the old, worn seats in the back, and her. He said that he would be able to clean it, but he did not seem happy. She asked him if he had papel toalla or something like that, but he did not have anything like that, and he seemed to suggest a vague annoyance that this was happening at all. When she looked again at the seat, averse to the feeling that she could be annoyed, she noticed a slight smell of blood, the smell of copper, not yet visible in the yellow stain on her dress or on the fabric of the seat. The head stopped on a cliff near the house, and the full light of the sky revealed the longshore. Even the fires lit on the beach for the tourists could be seen. Their immediacy would have otherwise taken into the wish to be there, but the driver stood there waiting, while from disparate points came the sound of firecrackers, snapping almost against them, as she told her that she would be all right, and they would see to it. Is it all right? She asked back. She seemed to be losing color in her face. Suddenly, even the motion of her eyes seemed to inflect a sense of withdrawal, as though they were taken up by inward sights. "It's all right, don't worry," she said. We'll be cleaning it up later. Come on, you can sit up front with me." "Is there something wrong?" "Only we need to see the doctor because you peed a little bit. But don't worry about it. I'm sure it's nothing. And we can still go get home for the ball. And maybe if we're lucky, we can still have the pizza." "There is a clinic nearby," the driver said, "called La Esperanza." She knew of it too. It was near the marina and the Dolphin Conservatory where she had taken her the day before. She had been sure then, when they were in the eaves of the marina sitting there for the show, later approaching the encaged macaws at the cafe, her daughter pushing her finger towards their black tongues, squealing when they clipped at her, and gripping and re-gripping their position with wrinkled claws, that this was at least reprieve. Nora was looking for signs in the contestment of their new isolation, and she saw these moments and things against the immediate reprieve of it all, still signs which could occlude interpretation without any reference. And she was sure, she felt, while they watched the dolphin show, that this life was better than what was before. That school, those maple trees, that town, its collective rush forward, yet the recessed sense of something lost to those strictures, the slow entanglement of disparate paths, the edging towards the meaning of it quote, to her approach. She felt it was better left alone, and at least now there was no question of the idolatry of escape and of flight, and no question of time elapsing away from the possibility for recovery, no thought of the weight of their old home. She had never solicited the kinds of things that were available to other people there, nor did she tend with ease to her daughter's needs, as the quotidian recipe for motherhood relegated its own disruption, or think well of going out to parties with her husband. But she had been sure of this possibility when they had seen the island again, from above on the plain, its constancy. She was, as her daughter would say when she saw her in this manic way, full of bees. They returned down the mountain and came back into the town to gain the highway to the clinic, pressing her hands to her forehead and keeping her legs wrapped in ties. She saw the people they had seen before, their presence removed, somehow inhibitive to her shifting perception. "How are you feeling?" she asked. She was hopeful she would reply as she hoped she would, with slight enthusiasm and a sense that it would soon be over and soon gone. Then there were the bohemians and taxistas and turistas walking along the dirt road by the water, and its strange echoes multiplying something. And she held her, looking down on her sweat-covered forehead and closing and opening eyes. She looked down for some time as the car crept through the town, and those familiar faces who tried to call to her. And then they took the right past the plaza statue away from the revelry, onto the highway. They passed the gas station, its blocks of lights, and the store before they got into the highway, caught too in the mercurial reverie of the new year. Those approaching cars, their yellow lights spreading over the air vents and the dash, and the pendulum of the air freshener and the plastic cross swinging. The folds of the towel draped over her reddening dress, casting her features in stone and memory. The motion of her half-closed eyes moving beneath the skin. "Here," she said. She asked her to sit up to drink, and then collapsed again. She felt her nose, which was colder. She saw her skin, that it was pale, and felt on her lap that her breath was shorter and slower. She continued to check her phone for any correspondence that might bring some means to help her, hopeful that someone in the new year would have looked online and seen her desperate post. There was a number and a message from a friend in all caps lock, though she said that he was probably on the mainland, but that she should try the number in any case. When she called, she could hear reggaeton in the background and the surrounding crowd, but a voice still responded, a voice that told her that she had probably ingested some poison, he said, when she explained the condition of her daughter, the sequence of what had happened, and that he would take the first plane back in the morning. But that for now she should ask at the clinic for a shot of vitamin K to counteract whatever it was that she had eaten, as most accidental poisoning was a result of long-acting anticoagulants, typically brifadicum, which operated as a prolonged blood thinner and was somewhat rare to inject, he said, but that it was possible that on the island it could be present in fruit, or fruit of some kind. Normally treatment stops the bleeding, he said. She asked if he was sure, and if this kind of bleeding reflected that, and she imagined the need of puncturing her skin, the ivy dripping slowly into her forearm back in the house, with the sense that these indefinite objects had the power to remove her incertitude. If it was Brofadicum, he said, then you could stop it with the vitamin K injection. Most clinics had it, and you would probably find it, he said, but to be sure to call back if there was any problem. He continued to say he would leave his phone on, and that he would leave the party shortly to be available to her. When she hung up, the tone of the job shifted again, away from what had seemed an improbable recourse to the promotion of the nerve she fueled as she spoke with the driver about what the doctor had said. Nora felt that there should be no problem now in obtaining the vitamin injection he had mentioned. She said that to the driver. He nodded and said they were a minute now, very close, that it was good that she had gotten through and to not worry. And then they were on the town, and the hot air of the jungle changed to the coolness of the breeze from the ocean. Adjustments that claimed nothing, except that as people walked along the sidewalk, they screamed and sang and called to one another, almost as if to mock the possibility of silence a driver exuded. There was an emptiness and a fear she felt as the driver parked the car, sure of her sense of having stepped into the displacements of history, a reality conjured to the shape of her own, but not hers. It was the poverty of the town and the drunken revelry, the wooden shacks and the barbed wire fencing, the broken glass of the walled homes, the bars and the pharmacy windows, on the houses too. Do you remember the first time I brought you here? She asked as the driver went to see if they were open. She mumbled that she did not, but that she was sure it was something she could remember. We would walk along the beach at night. I would take you into town. We went to the Half Moon Bay to order burgers, and you were always falling asleep when you were young, and you always stopped to look at the crabs. Your dad always had to lift you up because they took so long to make the food, and you had fallen asleep. You were never not once awake. And we always, she repeated, always had to take the food home because you can never finish it. It's not true, she replied. It is true, she said. But the taxi driver returned from the clinic, and he said that they were open to come. The door was open to the interior, filled by red light spreading over the broken vinyl floor, edging up on a desk behind which a recalcitrant face spoke harshly to her when she said her daughter was bleeding. The nurse disappeared around the hallway into a room from which arose the paltry sound of an old radio, and the doctor came and said that he was probably unequipped to help her. She gripped the edges of the front desk as she waited for him to finish. Her daughter's slop hung around her neck. For a moment she felt depleted. The shock of her anger had left again to the certainty of her fear. And the trust she had wanted to place too had fallen back, recoiling to blankness. Excuse me. But we don't have any vitamin K, he had continued. That's normally for animals. We don't have anything else, but he said to wait while he went to see if there was. But there was nothing, he said, when he returned. Up against the wall outside the clinic, beneath the light of the plastic encasement of an electric blue cross, there were a number of old women selling food from blue and green and red plastic stools, placed around an aluminum cart. When they saw the girl again, one woman rose and followed into the taxi with the driver had opened the door for them and peered in. She said, "No te preocupes, que vas a llegar." Her presence seemed to draw the other women towards the car, their slow perambulation echoing nothing nearby. Nora wanted to leave them, but when the car turned away, they were sitting again. When she opened her eyes, she asked if they were home again. If they were coming home, were they on the road? Her disorientation shook the fatigue from Nora and readjusted her focus back to the road in front of them, on which there was once again the passing monotony of traffic, and to the colorless appeal of the driver, who continued to encourage her, with the notion that the previous clinic was outdated, somewhere that people only went for minor things, and that they would come to the larger ones soon. His wife, he said, had had an operation there. It was a better place, he said. She stared in disbelief at the jungle, and the passing yellow light, the rhythm of some frenetic nightmare. They drove past the wooden sign to the Dolphin Marina, where she had watched her disappear around the corners of the dockside museum days before, peering in on the translucent fish and the angler with its solitary eye. The hallways and their glass cases of shards of pottery from the Mayans and the Lenca. Her laugh beside the figure of Cousteau diving naked on the poster, explaining the depths of things besides the depictions of different aquatic animals. The penguin, the whale, the dolphin. She listened to Nora's explanation with an eagerness that grew around the seed of the 2 o'clock dolphin show, as though one thing supplied the other, as though one sense of love could die and come up with the perambulations at the set stations. She shouted when the dolphins swam around the edge of the bamboo enclosure and left, and stood and looked up and back to her, sensing the motion of joy around each other. She remembered what her mother had said in her way about the difficulties of loving, and what it meant to lose someone you loved when her father died, and how she stood in the doorway when they went to visit to stop them from coming into the house, and how she had surprised them with the news there in the doorway, as though it were a matter of fact that she should not have called, and as though it required that they speak of it before going inside. "I couldn't call," she said. "I didn't think you would respond well. I thought it would be too much news." Nora did not think she would die, but she thought she could. It was, she felt, what it meant to love. If not to love, then to fear loss held, and permanence settling outward. Part 2. The truck passes as they see the town. She wakes another time, the lights illuminating her face, her pale green eyes, her nerves, features she sees of herself, almost minor inquisitions to the upended trajectory of the evening. "Are we near the hospital?" she asks. "We're almost there." When they see the yellow clinic by the advertisements for diamonds at the international port, Nora carries her to the open door through the gaze of the crowd, some of whom speak quietly amongst themselves as she approaches the door. It is the sound of her breathing in the ocean she listens for, and the sound of voices inside the clinic as she gets closer to it. She listens to one voice by the desk, and then is standing there asking to see the doctor, because it is an emergency, because my daughter is sick, because she is bleeding. The nurse nods and turns away into the hallway, and now a doctor comes holding a clipboard and wearing glasses, nodding calmly to her to come into the room, to follow him. "She is lucky," he says. "I was just about to leave for the night." He smiles as he says it because it is the new year, and it is the new year, he seems to be saying, that will keep her safe. He asks her if he can lift her from her arms to put her onto the examination table. And she says that the doctor she spoke with said it might be poison, something a young child might have found. "She'll be all right. There's nothing to worry about." "What are you doing now?" "This is just to pump her stomach to remove the poison. Then we'll put the IV in for several hours to make sure it gets removed," he says, gesturing towards his body. A nurse interrupts them to say that she should come with her into the hallway, and she nods and they go outside. But he is not there. He went home, the nurse says, as though they were old friends. Now in the hallway there is a crucifix and a medical chair and a pushcart, and an old man sitting who asks her why she's here in the new year. She does not say why, but can only say, "My daughter," to which he shakes his head, almost without moving it. The television on the small table in the corner shows the scene, some enumerations of time, something coming to an end, the new year drawing down, the clock finishing its count, and something feels unfinished, something has come too quick for her to understand, as though caught between departure and arrival. The people at the port are walking to the bars, their noise rising, and she sits back in her chair and closes her eyes.